Kumbalangi Nights. It's directed by Madhu C. Narayanan and it's written by Sayam Pushkaran. It stars Shane Nigam, Soubin, Shahir, and Fahadh Faasil. There's more people in the cast, but these are the top 3 billed. And this is the IMDb one-liner elevator pitch thingy. The film revolves around 4 brothers who share a love-hate relationship with each other. Their relationship progresses to another level when Saji, Bonnie, and Frankie decide to help Bobby stand by his love. I want to say at the outset that I very much enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Much to my surprise, actually, because in the first 30, 45 minutes, I was like, I don't know why I'm watching this. I don't know where this is going. And this was my feeling going into Drishyam. You know, it was just like, this is a lot. It's just, where is this going? And then once the adventure kicks off, once you have a sense of the trajectory, then you realize what all that other stuff was about.
Yeah.
And it kind of coalesces in a nice way. Here, more than Drishyam for me personally, I enjoyed this more than Drishyam because everything felt very relevant. All that stuff that you weren't sure why it was there was set up for what was to come later on, and things were set up in a very, very strong way, I thought.
Yeah, I think it really felt like a cool hangout movie, especially in the beginning when you're getting to know the characters. Seeing as this is my first Malayalam film, and then judging from your experience with Drishyam, it seems like maybe the style is to be a little bit more free and loose and just kind of in the beginning give us this sense of, okay, these are the characters, these are the reasons why you should care about them.
Yeah.
And so you really get to know them on a deep level so that when the drama really kicks in, you're so invested. And then later on, when the twist happens, I was just like, ugh,
yeah.
Like, what the F is going on? It just turned into this like really tense, scary movie.
Yes. Just for comparison's sake, you haven't seen Drishyam, this was a lot more focused than Drishyam. Everything that I was wondering if it was a waste of time turned out to be important because it's setting up the bonds between these people, which affect how you feel about things later on in the movie.
Yeah.
And in Drishyam, I still stand by the idea or the feeling that a lot of that could have been cut out, could have been cut down, and you still would have achieved the same film overall. Whereas here, I feel like if you cut out anything from that first hour, it probably wouldn't have felt the same.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when you get to that latter hour or even the last 30 minutes, all that stuff you went through just primed you for the last 30 minutes. It really was set up in a very, very nice way between the dynamics of the people and the characters being built up, the relationships that are, you know, rough, and then how that turns, if they're there for each other, if they're not there for each other, how they turn on each other. Like, I loved all that. I loved all the twists and turns with the relationships, and it felt very real. And the one foreign actress they had here, who was the black actress, I liked her. I thought that what she brought to the table was great. And it's one of the few instances where I can say the foreign person they brought, who I thought was maybe American or some kind of Westerner, felt like a good actress compared to a number of Indian films I've seen where the American talent or the Western talent is just not great. There have been instances where that was not the case, where it was good, and this is one of those cases where it was good. Everything felt very real, and that's what I enjoyed most about this, was just the way they behaved with each other, the way they were standoffish with certain things that like maybe would make us in real life kind of uncomfortable. You know, like the way they just acted around each other felt like I was a fly on the wall watching this actually take place.
And all the characters were really different as well, and everyone, you know, they were all well acted, and I really appreciated that.
Before I forget, I want to mention the directing and the cinematography in this. It was gorgeous. It was just beautifully done. It wasn't like the most memorable as in, oh, I need to watch that again because of the cinematography. I just felt along the way it was a very pleasant film to watch.
Yeah.
It was just nicely shot. It was, you know, the camera movement, the framing, everything in this film just felt pleasant. It felt nice, and it was worth complimenting.
I think, you know, with the title being Kumbalangi Nights, and it's set in Kumbalangi, which is kind of this, you know, little fishing village, it really feels like a love story to the area, to the region, and the way they shot it kind of gave me that feeling as well. And so, like, I could just feel the love and care that had gone into this, and it just kind of translated to me and just made me feel really happy while I was watching it. Like, it almost feels like a great tourism video for the region, because I watched it and I was like, I want to go visit. That looks so nice. And they're portraying this family that's, you know, lower income and lower status, and like the whole relationship between Bobby and Baby, and like they want to get together, but you know, they have different status and various obstacles along the way. I thought that was just like a really cool story to explore.
There is this aspect of the story that deals with a female character who is on the stronger side, who has a lot of dignity and knows what she wants and knows what she's about. And I thought that the way they portrayed her was very realistic. It didn't feel like social justice warrior, or, you know, kind of, what do you call it? Virtue signaling kind of stuff. It felt like, no, I can see that person in real life. I can see that person, like, because she doesn't have the demeanor of someone who would stand up for herself, but she does it in a way that it just felt realistic. I thought that the way they handled that was very tasteful. You know, it didn't feel like impossible. It didn't feel like I was watching, I don't know, I don't want to compare it to anything. I just want to say that the way that it was handled was very tasteful, and I felt was very realistic. And the romance in the story, even though, well, there's romance with that character specifically, even though I wasn't initially on board, I got on board with it by the end of the film. I actually came to like it a lot. I was actually rooting for those characters by the end of the film.
It was really sweet too. Like it felt like something that could happen. Like it doesn't need to be overtly sexy or racy in order for it to be romantic. It was just kind of nice, you know, like this conservative girl who's all like, oh no, you can't kiss me right now until we're married, and having that whole conversation, which I feel like maybe is true for a lot of people in India who still hold on to those values.
The last thing I want to say before we shift into some spoilers, I don't know if we have too much to talk about, but the one thing I want to say is they had a very, very well-developed antagonist in this film. He was like one of the best developed antagonists in a movie, because the thing is, everything was dropped in a very subtle way. It was shown to you slowly, and you kept asking yourself where this was going.
Yeah.
And once you finally saw where it was going, it felt real, and it's like, it felt correct in terms of like the structure of the story. It made you emotional, and it made you just anxious in a good way. I thought that like the way they developed his character was great. So anyway, let's shift into spoilers. If you haven't seen the film yet, I would recommend, you know, clicking out of this and watching the movie right away. I strongly recommend it. I think it's a great film. What I wanted to say also is that scene where the youngest brother, who's playing soccer or football, Frankie, I thought he was the only character that was kind of neglected in the story, which was a little bit frustrating because they showed a really strong development with everybody else, and the only time you saw him shift was when the black girl came into the family, and then he got happy. But that wasn't really anything he did per se. He didn't have an arc. He didn't have a journey. Everyone else around him had a journey, and it was almost like we were seeing the family through his eyes. And so we were sort of that innocent kid looking in on this kind of like in bewilderment and seeing how this all plays out. That was the only negative that I could kind of give it, but other than that, I thought it was a tight, perfect film. I don't know that I would have changed much else in that movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also because in the beginning you start off on Frankie, I think I had the perception that maybe he was going to be the protagonist of the story, and then very quickly it just moves on from him once he gets home. So I was kind of like, oh, and it took me a while to kind of figure out who was the protagonist in this, and I would say it's probably like the two brothers, Saji and Bobby.
Yeah.
Because Boney, he had a little bit, but like he also wasn't super duper developed. But I loved how they all came together because in the beginning they were so fractured.
Yeah.
You know, because of all the trauma that they had within their family, with their father passing away and then their mother leaving them to fend for themselves so that she could like, I don't know, join some Jesus thing.
Yeah.
And then, so you feel that pain throughout, and then the tragedy that happens to Saji when he accidentally causes the death of his best friend, right? And then it all just kind of ramps up from there until the like end climax, which was wild.
Yeah, we failed to mention probably the most important thing, which is, well, amongst the most important things, which is the acting in this movie. It was phenomenal. I thought all the actors in here were great. I thought that everyone was just, you know, A-class talent. and I enjoyed watching them quite a bit. Again, like I just wish that the youngest brother, like, because like you said, they showed him playing soccer at the beginning and sort of throws you off because that feels like a setup for something else that never actually pays off. Like it doesn't, there's nothing like Super 30 where now he's like kicking the dude at the end because he's got kicking skills. Like nothing like that ever comes, and that might have felt contrived or weird.
Yeah.
But like my point is like that beginning didn't help us. It didn't take us anywhere. It didn't add to the story. If you took it out, the movie would have been the same.
I mean, I guess the only thing it gave was just this sense of like he felt left out from the rest of his friends because like I think maybe he was there on a scholarship or something and he was poorer than the rest of them, and so
Sure.
that was pretty much the setup. You know?
I still don't get like how that took the story anywhere. Like he just didn't have an arc. Everyone else seemed to have an arc, you know? He was just a tool for the other characters in a way. Like the deaf brother, not the deaf, the mute brother, like I like that scene when he just shows up and he beats up his, I mean, they're not actually, they're like step siblings, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the dynamics of the characters in this film is just wonderful. It was nice to watch, you know, is the short of it.
And then I have to talk about like the ending with the psycho husband.
The Shining ending?
Oh my god. Like I didn't realize, like the whole time I'm like, oh, this is a really sweet movie. This is like so romantic. It's really lovely. There's like some drama. I'm feeling emotional.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he just flips the switch and he just goes full on The Shining on everyone.
Yeah.
And it's genuinely frightening. I was sitting there clutching a pillow to my face, just like, ah!
I really felt like that ending had to be at least minutely inspired by The Shining because he's literally going through a door, which is what happens. It's a very famous image from The Shining. So, I think that's a wonderful thing to be inspired by, to be perfectly frank. So I like this film a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Thanks so much for those of you who have been strongly recommending it relentlessly. I'm glad I watched it. This is definitely up there as one of my favorite Indian films. So you guys, if you haven't already, check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media as well as the Jabs if you feel like doing that. We got different stuff on the Instagram, totally separate from our YouTube stuff. That's lots of fun, photos and videos. And subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon to get notified every time we drop another video. Helps us out a lot. Check out our other reactions, reviews, short films, vlogs, and interviews. I am Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.